The entire ballroom felt suspended, like every breath had been tucked away, waiting to see what would unfold next. Scarlet stood across from Luca, the distance between them no more than a few tables and the gleam of polished marble, but it held the weight of years. Caleb's hand hovered near Scarlet's, not touching, not guiding, just there, steady as a held line. Daniel, expression sharpened to a blade, watched everything from the corner of his eye. Boris was nowhere visible, yet Scarlet felt him, like a shadow that followed light. Luca took a step forward. Measured, elegant, the step of someone who believed the world still parted for him. Scarlet. Her name left his lips like silk pulled over steel. Scarlet didn't move. Luca. Silence curled between them, intimate and dangerous. You look whole, he said softly, as if it were a compliment. Scarlet's gaze was calm. I am. His smile shifted, not warm but something sour-sweet, threaded with old ownership. For now. Caleb's presence sharpened beside her. Not anger, not jealousy, just stillness coiled into readiness. The room felt the temperature change. Conversations faltered. Glasses lowered. People watched. Luca's eyes flicked to Caleb. And you must be the reason. He didn't offer a hand. He didn't need to. His arrogance filled the space without gesture. Caleb Thorne. The man who thinks he can buy loyalty. Caleb didn't blink. The only loyalty worth having, he replied, is the kind freely given. Luca's smile faltered just enough to prove it stung. Scarlet stepped slightly forward. Not behind Caleb, not beside him, but in front. Luca, she said, voice steady. I did not break. And you did not win. His jaw tightened, but only for a breath. You think this is about winning? Luca asked. Everything you have now, your studio, your investors, your alliances, they are built on the ashes of what I shaped. No, Scarlet said. They are built on what you tried to destroy. The air shifted. The ballroom watched without pretending not to. A woman in silver approached the stage, tapping the microphone gently. Ladies and gentlemen, we invite our honoree, Scarlet Barnes, to the floor. Every gaze turned to her. Scarlet didn't look at Luca again. The crowd parted. Elegantly, reverently, like water giving way to something that remembered how to command the tide. Scarlet stepped into the center of the polished marble, beneath the chandelier that fractured light like constellations scattered across her skin. Music began, not dramatic, not loud. A single piano, soft and unbroken. Scarlet lifted her chin. And then she moved. Not to impress, not to prove, but to exist. Her body flowed like memory rediscovered, each step a reclaiming, each turn a return to herself. The room faded. The whispers sank away. The past unraveled like thread from a loosened stitch. She danced without apology, without permission, without fear. And the ballroom held its breath. Caleb watched her like one might watch sunrise, something that belonged to itself entirely, yet made the world bright. Daniel watched like a strategist, understanding the shift of power in every graceful line. Boris watched like a vow, silent, unbroken. Luca watched like a man witnessing something he once thought belonged to him walk free. His fingers tightened around the stem of his glass until it creaked. Scarlet stopped mid-turn. Her eyes found his. She did not bow. She did not smile. She simply stood, steady, breathing, alive. The room erupted into applause. Thunderous, rolling, genuine. Scarlet did not look away from Luca. Luca was no longer smiling. After the performance, the evening unfolded in golden hums of conversation. People approached Scarlet. Sponsors, critics, dancers, patrons, shaken, inspired, awakened. Her name moved through the crowd like electricity. But the moment she slipped away from the center, she found Caleb waiting in a quiet hallway away from the glittering noise. He didn't speak at first. He simply looked at her. Scarlet, he said, voice low, warm, steady. That was not just a performance. No, she agreed. It wasn't. She felt her pulse slow, her breath deepen, the adrenaline leaving her bones. It was a declaration, he said. Scarlet stepped closer, not pulled, not guided, just drawn. And did they hear it? Caleb's eyes held hers. They heard everything. Silence stretched, not empty but full. Scarlet's voice was soft. Caleb. When Luca looked at me tonight, I didn't feel fear. What did you feel? She thought for a moment. Endings, she said. And beginnings. Caleb's expression shifted, not into a smile, but into something far deeper. Good, he murmured. 'Cause he understood. She wasn't just returning. She was rising. Meanwhile, Daniel stood by the balcony doors, phone to his ear. The studio is ours, he said quietly. Was. Yes. Tonight sealed it. Another pause. No. Do nothing yet. Let him wonder. He hung up. His eyes found Scarlet across the room. His loyalty did not shine like Caleb's warmth or Boris's silence. His was different. Strategic. Sharp-edged. Immovable. He would burn cities before he let Scarlet fall again. And above the city, in a quiet apartment far from the glitter and applause, Luca sat alone. No glass, no audience, no mask, just silence, just breath, just the slow realization. Scarlet had stepped out of his shadow, and a man who builds his identity on control does not accept a world where he is no longer the center of orbit. His jaw clenched. His voice was soft, too soft. Then we changed the stage. He reached for his phone, dialed one number. A single voice answered. Ready when you are. Luca looked out at the night. Begin. Morning crept into the city slowly, with a soft gray sky and a breeze that hinted at rain. Scarlet stood in front of the mirror in the studio's main hall, the same hall she had reclaimed in movement, breath, and memory. Her reflection stared back at her. Calm eyes, steady posture, a woman who no longer trembled in the presence of her past. Today was not the gala, not the performance, not the return. Today was the beginning. Her studio, their studio, was now legally hers. The papers were signed at sunrise. Handshake. Signature. A quiet message delivered to investors and city officials. The deed was done. The war had begun. Scarlet walked the length of the hall. The wood beneath her feet was familiar, polished smooth by years of footsteps that were not always kind. The walls still echoed with laughter, despair, hope, and loss. She placed her palm flat against the mirror. It no longer reflected her as a survivor, but as a foundation. Footsteps approached. Caleb. His presence always entered a room before he did. Not loud, not overwhelming, but weightful, grounded. Ready? He asked. Scarlet turned. Yes, she said. But we don't open yet. Caleb nodded. You want to build first. Scarlet's gaze swept across the empty studio. I want this place to be what it should have been. Not a cage. A sanctuary. He stepped closer. Then tell me what you see. Scarlet closed her eyes and breathed. And in her mind the space transformed. Not mirrors reflecting flaws. Not silence that suffocated. But music, laughter, creation, flight. I see dancers who don't break themselves to prove worthy, she whispered. I see children who don't learn pain before they learn joy. I see artists who know they are allowed to be enough. Caleb watched her. Then we build that. His voice was low, certain. Her eyes lifted to his. For them, she said. No, Caleb said. For you. Scarlet did not argue. 'Cause he was right. Downstairs, Daniel moved through the administrative office like a controlled storm. Papers, files, email threads. All of it flowed through his hands with precision. He had always been the strategist. The blade behind the quiet smile. He clicked the final document into place. The studio's new name flashed across the screen. The Scarlet House floor. Not after Luca. Not after history. After her. A name that would not be erased. Daniel sat back, fingers steepled. His phone buzzed. Message. Unknown number. You should resign before this collapses. Some things don't stay buried. Daniel's eyes did not change. He typed back. Daniel, you're late. It already rose. He locked the screen and stood. War had always been his language. In the hallway, Scarlet and Boris crossed paths. He was holding a box of old studio keys. Dozens of them, weighty with past ownership. The metal glinted like fragments of control. Are we keeping these? Boris asked. Scarlet looked at them. No, she said softly. Boris raised a brow. Then what? Scarlet opened the front door and stepped outside. The street was quiet, early, still pale. She set the box on the sidewalk. And she walked away. She didn't look back. Boris watched her. He understood. Reclamation was not always about taking. Sometimes it was about discarding the chains. He followed her inside without a word. That afternoon, people began to notice. Social media shimmered with images from the gala. Scarlet's name trended. Her performance replayed in loops. Slow turns, lifted arms, the moment her gaze met Luca's. Comment sections buzzed. He's back. She never stopped. This time she's not alone. And then, the press release dropped. Scarlet Barnes acquires the prestigious Skyward Dance Studio. Studio renamed. New training programs announced. The city reacted like a struck match. Admiration. Whispers turned into thunder. And somewhere else, in a dim private suite overlooking another district, Luca read the headline. His jaw clenched so tightly the muscles jumped. His assistant hovered nearby. What do you want to do? They asked quietly. Luca's voice was soft. Soft like a storm before lightning. We take back what is mine. Back at the studio, Scarlet climbed the stairs to the rooftop. The city stretched wide below her. Glass, steel, stone, life. Caleb joined her without needing to be called. She didn't turn. Luca will come for this place, she said. Yes, Caleb answered. He will come for me. Yes, Scarlet exhaled. I am not afraid. I know. She looked at him then. Really looked. The rooftop wind tangled hair between them, warm and electric. The sky was beginning to break open, gold in the cracks of clouds. Caleb stepped close enough for his presence to surround her, but not close enough to claim anything. His voice was quiet. Scarlet, whatever comes, we face it together. She felt the words settle inside her like roots. Not a promise of protection. Promise of presence. She nodded once. Then she turned her eyes back to the city. To the world she was stepping into. To the war that had already begun. Her voice was steady. Then let the storm come. Caleb stood beside her. Unmoving. Unshaken. Unyielding. And below them, the city pulsed. The world waited. Past advanced. And Scarlet Barnes did not bend. The day began with sunlight that looked harmless. Soft gold stretched across the windows of the Scarlet House floor, spilling gently across polished boards and mirrored walls. The studio breathed. It was beginning to feel less like a battlefield and more like a place that held the promise of rebirth. Scarlet arrived early. She always did now. Her footsteps sounded quiet and sure across the hallway, echoing just enough to remind her of who she had once been, and who she was choosing to become. She paused in the main hall, letting silence greet her. The mirrors reflected her silhouette, a woman standing tall, shoulders unbowed, chin lifted, eyes bright with a fire she'd once thought had died forever. She wasn't smiling, but she wasn't breaking, and sometimes that was enough. She inhaled deeply. Then she began to dance. Not for performance, not for proving something, not for running from ghosts, but for the sheer truth of movement. Her body, once punished for imperfection, now answered only to herself. She raised her arm slowly, letting the light catch along her forearm like a flame, and turned. Not the perfect turn of competition, but one that felt full, rooted, real. She closed her eyes. Her breath followed her motion. She remembered the first dance class she ever took years ago, when the studio had felt like a place of wonder, not chains. She remembered being so young she believed dance could save her. Perhaps it still could. The music in her mind rose. Up, low, steady. Her body found the rhythm. And for a moment time was quiet. Liam watched from the doorway. He had come with 2 small bags of pastries, which he carried like priceless treasure. His hair was still messy from sleep. His eyes warm and soft with a kind of awe that could only come from a child who loved without condition. He didn't say a word. He didn't need to. Scarlet saw him in the mirror and smiled. Not the smile she gave customers or friends or family she had learned to fear, but something real, warm around the edges. "Good morning," she said, breath lightly trembling from the dance. Liam walked in, solemn like a prince, and held out the paper bag with both hands. "Daddy said breakfast tastes better when you share it." Scarlet knelt to his height. "Did he now?" Liam nodded with exaggerated seriousness. "But I think he just wants an excuse to see you again." Scarlet laughed, surprised at how easily the sound rose. Liam leaned closer to whisper like a conspirator. "He likes your smile." Scarlet's breath caught. Children did not lie. Not about things like that. She touched his cheek. "Would you like to have breakfast here?" He nodded vigorously and plopped down in the center of the dance floor, legs crossed, as though it were the most natural thing in the world. Scarlet sat beside him. They ate quietly, just a woman and a child in a vast sunlit room. Warm. Simple. Liam finished his pastry, wiped the crumbs with the back of his hand, and said, "Miss Scarlet, can I ask you something?" "Yes, sweetheart. If I grow up fast enough, will you wait for me?" Her breath stilled, not sharp, not amused this time, but touched. Gently, she brushed hair from his forehead. "You don't have to grow up fast," she said. "You just have to grow well." Liam considered this. "Okay," he said. "Then, I'll grow well. For you." And Scarlet realized, unexpectedly and deeply, that this boy had given her something no one else had. A love that asked nothing from her. No demands. No expectations. No debts. Just love. Her eyes warmed, but she didn't cry. She only squeezed his hand. "Then I will make sure there is always a place for you here." Caleb walked in then. He paused. The sight before him. Scarlet and Liam sitting on the floor, sunlight swelling around them like a halo. It struck something in him, not like lightning, not like fire, like warmth, like home. Scarlet looked up, the smallest smile lifting the corner of her mouth. Not shy, not uncertain, just real. "Good morning," she said softly. Caleb's chest tightened. His voice, when it came, was steady. "Good morning." He walked forward and sat beside Liam without hesitation, as though he belonged there, and perhaps he did. Scarlet didn't move away. Liam leaned against his father's shoulder. And for a moment, the 3 of them existed in a quiet that felt whole. No past, no future, just now, just them. Downstairs, Daniel was already working. His desk was covered in contracts, sponsorship pitches, and communications planning for the studio's launch event, the public reopening. He was efficient, sharp, calm, but today his jaw was set tighter than usual. He wasn't worried about the event. He was waiting. 'Cause he knew. Luca would not let this go. And right on cue, message pinged. This time not a warning. Not a bluff. Declaration. "Luca James. You've made your move. Now I make mine." Daniel leaned back. His fingers drummed once against the table. His eyes did not show fear, only readiness. He sent one reply. "Daniel, then come. But understand this. We are no longer the ones who run from you." He closed the phone. The war was no longer approaching. It was here. At the same time across the city, Courtney stood in front of her mirror, lipstick poised, hands shaking. She was not trembling because of Scarlet. She was trembling because for the first time in her life, she suspected she was on the losing side. She had chosen Luca. She had believed power could replace loyalty, that wealth could replace love, that possession meant value. But now, the city whispered Scarlet's name like reverence. And Courtney felt her world begin to crack. Luca entered the room behind her. His reflection joined hers in the mirror. Sharp, angry, beautiful in a way that had always been cold and unreachable. He spoke. "We are going to destroy her." Courtney swallowed. She didn't ask who he meant. She knew. She lowered her lipstick. Her voice was barely breath. "Luca, what if we can't?" There was no softness in his reply. "Then we break everything she stands on." He left without waiting for her. And Courtney realized. He didn't love her. He never had. He loved control. And Scarlet was the one thing he couldn't break. So he would burn the city if he had to. Back at the studio, Scarlet stood at the window, watching the city below. Her reflection shimmered faintly in the glass. She didn't know Luca was already moving. She only knew one truth. She would not run again. Caleb stood beside her. Not touching. Not demanding. Just there. Liam was coloring at the small table behind them. His small hums filling the quiet like soft music. Scarlet spoke, voice low. "He will come. And he will try to tear everything apart." Caleb didn't deny it. He only said, "Yes, but he will not succeed." Scarlet's eyes lifted to his. "Because of you." Caleb shook his head once. "No, because of you." She did not look away. She didn't need to. Because for the first time since her world had fallen apart, Scarlet Barnes was not afraid of losing. She was afraid of nothing. She turned from the window. "Then let him come." Her voice did not sharpen. Deepened. Rooted. Steady. Unshakable. Caleb exhaled slowly. Liam looked up from his drawing, smiling like the world was safe. And somewhere far across the city, a storm began to gather. But Scarlet did not bend. It arose. The sky darkened earlier than usual that evening. Clouds gathered like heavy fabric drawn over the city, dimming the daylight until the streets glowed in that quiet pre-storm hush. It was the kind of silence that came before lightning, before thunder, before something snapped open and changed the air forever. Inside the Scarlet House floor, the lights glowed warm, steady, alive. Music drifted softly through the studio. Slow piano, thoughtful and gentle, threading between shadows and mirrors. Scarlet stood in the center of the floor, her reflection shifting around her like fractured fragments of the woman she had been. Her breathing was steady, but her heart was preparing, not for battle, for truth. She knew Luca was coming, not physically, not yet, but his move was near. She could feel it the way dancers feel the tremor of wood through their feet. The city itself was holding its breath. She closed her eyes, not out of fear, but to remember her center, her balance, her choice. Footsteps entered behind her, the soft, careful kind she already recognized. Caleb. He did not speak at first. He let the music fill the space around them, let the moment settle like dust. Then gently, "Scarlet." Her eyes opened. She didn't turn. "I know," she said. He stepped beside her, both of them facing the mirror. Faces reflected. Histories reflected. Scars reflected. He did not look at her, but his voice carried that quiet gravity she had come to recognize as truth. Daniel intercepted another message. Scarlet inhaled. And Caleb's jaw tightened. "He isn't just after the studio anymore. He's gonna try to ruin your name. Publicly. Financially. Personally." Scarlet's reflection did not flinch. Her voice was steady. "He always believed he owned my story." Caleb looked at her then. Not the mirror version but her. "You don't have to fight him alone." Scarlet's eyes softened. Not fragile but full. "I know." Just that. Two words that were no longer fear. Caleb reached out. Not to claim, not to lead, but to offer. His fingers hovered near hers, not touching. Scarlet looked down. Then, quietly, she placed her hand in his. There was no spark, no fire, no trembling, only warmth. Simple, human, real. Downstairs, Liam sat at the reception desk, drawing with deep concentration. His tongue poked out the corner of his mouth the way it always did when he was focused. Daniel watched him fondly as he sorted papers, occasionally glancing up. The boy was safe here, happy. And Daniel, who had once thought himself incapable of caring for anything that didn't fit neatly into a contract, found himself adjusting his entire world around the safety of a child and the woman who held his respect. His phone buzzed again. He expected another threat. But it wasn't Luca. It was her. Courtney. Courtney. Please. I need to talk to you. Alone. Daniel stared at the message a long moment. He had known Courtney longer than Scarlet. He had seen her rise on Luca's arm like a glittering, fierce storm. He had admired her ambition. He had respected her ruthlessness. But now something cracked through her words. Fear. He typed one response. Daniel. Meet me at the old theater at 8. Come alone. He set the phone down. His face did not show concern. But his pulse told another story. Meanwhile, Scarlet and Caleb stood in silence, hands joined loosely. Not lovers. Not undefined. Something else. Something growing in the quiet between them. Caleb spoke again low. When Luca comes, he won't just attack your name. He will go after the things that matter to you. Scarlet's voice did not waver. Then he will learn that I don't bend. Caleb nodded once. And he will learn that I do not lose what I protect. Scarlet looked at him fully then. There were no promises spoken. No confessions. But something shifted. Something real. Something that neither of them forced into words. The front door opened with a soft chime. Liam looked up from his drawing. A woman entered, hair windswept, coat heavy with rain that hadn't fallen yet. Her face was sharp in a way that suggested she had once been more beautiful, because she had once been kinder. Courtney. She didn't see Caleb and Scarlet upstairs. She saw Liam. And Liam smiled, instantly without judgment or hesitation. Hi. Do you want to draw with me? I have an extra pencil. Courtney froze. The open, pure warmth of a child was something she had not felt in a very, very long time. Her throat tightened unexpectedly. No, she said softly. Thank you. Her voice cracked. Liam blinked, sensitive as always, and instead of withdrawing, he spoke gently. Are you sad? Courtney swallowed. Her lip trembled. And before she could answer, Scarlet's voice floated down the staircase. Courtney. Courtney's spine stiffened. Her eyes rose. Scarlet descended one step at a time. Not with drama, not with threat, but with something far more unnerving. Courtney couldn't remember the last time Scarlet had been calm. Scarlet didn't look afraid. Or angry. Or broken. She looked whole. Courtney hated it. Envied it. Needed it. Her voice came out as barely breath. You won. Scarlet reached the bottom step. That's not what this is. Courtney laughed, a sharp, brittle sound. No. 'Cause it feels like it. Everywhere I go, your name whispers now. And mine is starting to crack. Scarlet didn't soften. But she didn't harden either. Courtney. I didn't take anything from you. Luca did. Silence. Painful, ringing silence. Courtney's voice shook. Raw, stripped of armor. He said if I stood with him, he would never leave me. That I would never be second. Scarlet's eyes lowered, but not in pity. In recognition. She had believed the same once. He doesn't love, Scarlet said quietly. He consumes. Courtney's breath broke. He's going to destroy you. And I don't know if I want to watch it happen. Or stop it. Scarlet stepped closer. Not threatening. Present. Then you must choose, Courtney. Not for me. Not for him. For you. Courtney's eyes shined with the wet sheen of a storm about to break. I don't know how. Scarlet's voice was soft now. You start by stepping away. Courtney shook her head. It isn't that easy. Scarlet nodded. No, it isn't. But it is necessary. Courtney's chest rose and fell. Shallow, frantic, hurting. Liam's small voice from behind. It's okay to be scared. Grown-ups get scared too. Courtney covered her mouth. And for the first time in years, she cried. Silent, trembling. Not for Luca. Not for power. But for herself. Scarlet reached out. This time, Courtney didn't pull away. She didn't collapse either. She simply stood. Two women. Both broken. Both rebuilding. Both choosing differently now. After a long moment, Courtney whispered. He knows you reopened. He's coming tonight. Scarlet inhaled. Caleb stepped down beside her. Quiet, steady, unshakable. Liam looked up, trusting Scarlet's calm more than the storm outside. Scarlet's voice held no fear. Then we'll be ready. Courtney nodded once. Not as an enemy. Not yet as a friend. But as someone stepping back from the edge. She turned and left. The door closed behind her. Silence filled the studio again. But this silence felt different. Not the quiet before a storm. The quiet of people preparing to stand through one. Scarlet exhaled slowly. Caleb stood close, not touching. Liam slipped his hand into hers. And Scarlet Barnes, once shattered, stood steady. The storm was coming. But this time, she would not break. Night rose thick and heavy, swallowing the city in deep indigo shadows. Street lights flickered in the gathering wind. The air smelled of storm and metal, charged, waiting. The Scarlet House floor glowed warm against the darkness, tall windows holding golden light like a heartbeat in the night. Inside the studio was quiet. Scarlet stood barefoot in the center of the main floor. The room was dim, the only light coming from the wall sconces and the soft lamps Daniel had chosen for evenings, lighting that made shadows dance like ghosts. Caleb leaned against the far wall, arms crossed, watching her. Not as a guard, but as someone who understood the delicate silence before a blade is drawn. Scarlet inhaled deeply. Her lungs filled with air that felt cold and electric. The city feels different, she murmured. Caleb nodded. Because it knows he's coming. Scarlet turned to look at him. Caleb's face was steady, but there was steel beneath the steadiness. A storm waiting behind calm eyes. Do you regret standing with me? She asked, voice quiet, not fragile, simply honest. No. He didn't even hesitate. Her chest tightened, but not with fear. With something far more dangerous. Trust. In the office downstairs, Daniel placed another folder onto the desk. One he'd been holding back for years. Evidence. Receipts. Financial traces. Contracts designed to enslave young dancers. Payments disguised as donations. Power built from exploitation. All of it connected to Luca. Not in rumor. Not in whispers. Proof. Daniel had gathered it quietly. Carefully. Methodically. Piece by piece. Year after year. He hadn't known why he was collecting it then. But now the use was clear. He closed the folder and locked it inside the drawer. His expression unreadable. His phone buzzed. Courtney. He left the penthouse. Daniel typed only one word. Understood. Then he stood. It was time. Outside the storm broke. Rain began slowly, tapping the glass like fingertips. The wind swept down the street, bending the branches of the trees like dancers reaching toward the earth. Scarlet walked to the front windows, her reflection gazing back at her layered against the city lights. She remembered the first day she had walked into this studio as a child. Afraid, hopeful, hungry to be seen. How strange that the place built to break her would now be the place she reclaimed herself. Caleb stepped behind her, not touching, just present. She didn't need his hand to steady her. But she could feel the truth of him. If she fell, he would catch her. If she rose, he would rise with her. Not to lead, to stand beside. The front door clicked. Not loudly. Just a soft metallic sound, the door latch releasing. Scarlet did not turn. Caleb did. Daniel stepped in from the office hallway. Liam, already asleep upstairs, was safe. Boris had taken position near the entrance, not threatening but unmistakably there. They did not speak, because words were no longer needed. Footsteps entered the building. Measured, confident, low. The rhythm of someone who believed the world still shifted around him. Luca. His coat was dark, rain-slicked, tailored to perfection. His hair held droplets of water like glittering jewels. His expression was composed, elegant, almost serene. But his eyes were wildfire. He looked at Scarlet like someone staring at a possession that had been moved without permission. Scarlet did not move. Caleb shifted subtly, not blocking her, simply aligning himself at her side. Luca's gaze flicked to Caleb. Faint, cold smile formed. So this is the replacement. Caleb's jaw tightened, but he said nothing, because he was not here to trade insults. Luca stepped forward. Daniel stepped forward too. The air sharpened, but Scarlet lifted her hand. One small gesture, and both men stopped. She stepped closer to Luca, not too close, but enough that their histories breathed between them. Her voice was quiet. You came to take it back. Luca's smile deepened. No, Scarlet. I came to remind you who you are. Scarlet did not blink. You don't define me anymore. Luca's expression did not change, but something in his eyes cracked. He stepped closer. You think this studio belongs to you? That your name holds weight? You were what I made you. And I can unmake you just as easily. Caleb moved then, one step controlled. But Scarlet placed a hand lightly on Caleb's forearm. A silent command. Me. She faced Luca fully now. Lightning split open the sky outside, white light flashing through the windows. Once, Scarlet said softly, I believed you. I believed I was nothing without your approval. Believed love meant pain. I believed breaking was the price of being seen. Luca's lips parted, words forming. But she didn't give him space to speak. But I am not that woman anymore. Her voice did not rise. It didn't need to. I built myself. I rebuilt myself. I found worth outside of your shadow. I am not owned, not claimed, not controlled. Her words were not loud. They were absolute. Luca's expression fractured, just for a breath. Then the mask snapped back. You think Caleb loves you? Luca said, voice low, sharpened. You think Daniel is loyal? They will both leave. They all do. You will always end up alone. And when you break again, Scarlet stepped closer. Her eyes were not angry. They were calm. Dangerously calm. I will not break again. Silence. Rain hammered the windows now. Thunder rolling across the city like the world itself was listening. Caleb did not speak. Daniel did not speak. Even Luca could not speak. Because the truth hung heavy in the room. Scarlet Barnes did not belong to him anymore. Luca's voice returned, quieter now. This is not over. Scarlet nodded. No, it isn't. Luca's eyes burned. Then prepare yourself. Scarlet's voice was steady. I already have. Luca turned. His coat swept behind him like the tail of a storm, leaving damage in its wake. The door opened. Closed. Silence. Scarlet exhaled. Not shaky. Not weak. Releasing. Caleb stepped closer, slow, careful, patient. Daniel watched her, not with worry. With respect. Scarlet whispered, more to herself than anyone. It begins now. Caleb's voice was low, warm, unmovable. Then we stand with you. Scarlet lifted her head. Her spine straightened like a dancer rising into light. The storm had arrived. And Scarlet Barnes did not bow.